DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're joined now by Darnell Dickson, the Daily Herald. Darnell, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, appreciate it. I thought I should probably join just because PK's been kind of stalking me a little bit. So.
PK's been stalking you?
No. Here's the story, real quick. So
okay.
in Portland last year, after BYU's NCAA tournament loss, I'm walking back to my hotel, and it's not in a very great section of town, so I'm kind of hoofing it pretty good. And behind me, I hear, "Hey, you got $5?" And I'm like, "No," and I turn around and it's Pat.
I remember that. It was not in a great part of town.
It was not.
So, I mean, I was a little low on cash. What can I say?
Well, your hotel was nicer than mine. I know that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You did veer off. I remember that.
You stay at the Marriott down by the river, PK? I stayed in that one time. That was nice.
It was walkable to the Moda Center.
Yeah. Oh, no, this one would have been on the other side of the river from the Moda Center.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have walked the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, no, we walked there.
Well, you know the story of the day. I mean, sure, there's a lot of stories, Darnell. High school football is about to kick off again. We can go through a million stories, but it's BYU, it's Kalani Sitake, it's resources. What was he promised in December? How much, if any of that, has he been given? What are we doing here? You must have been asked about this 50,000 times. What's the stock answer? What's your go-to? What's your elevator speech?
Well, here's what I keep thinking about is back, 4 or 5 years ago when BYU was considering joining the Big 12, the guys in Salt Lake, the Board of Trustees, had to approve this. And I keep thinking in my mind, did somebody sit down with them and say, do you realize what you're committing to? Like, do you understand what commitment this is going to take financially and in all other ways to have the resources to compete at this level? Do you understand that, there's no more cheap hotels. There's no more telling an assistant coach, we're not paying you as much as everybody else, but you're working at the Lord's school. That stuff kind of has to end. Because if you want to compete, you're going to have to make that commitment. And then, a couple of years later, all of a sudden there's NIL jumping into the picture, and then you've got to start paying the players. So that's kind of my first thought is always, did the brethren really understand what it was they were committing to 5 years ago when they went to join the Big 12? And now we're seeing some of the frustration come out from Kalani, and they're hiring new people for the administration in athletics. What Mark Hill will do. Is he going to be in charge of football? What does that mean for Travis Hansen, who's kind of been overseeing a little bit of that? We hear Brian Santiago talking about, what's his role going to be? Because you think about this, and this is with every athletic department, football and basketball are the main sports. But there's also another, 700 other athletes that are competing in other sports that you're trying to support. And so who handles what, and does Kalani get the resources that he needs after making that little speech from a few weeks ago? So, yeah, it's an interesting time, and, we don't really have an off season anymore because it's more and more like the NFL and the NBA where there's stuff always going on in the off season.
Did you think that Kalani, did it just come up, or do you think that it was something that he was ready to say for political purposes to get the thing going to where he gets what he's wanted or what he wants and what has been promised?
I think that this was the first time that he sort of, took this to a forum that everybody could see. But this wasn't the first time he's brought this up. I'm sure he's had many discussions with Brian Santiago and those in the athletic department about this sort of thing. This is what we need. It's doable. Let's take care of it. And it just kind of boiled over. He's talking to a former player, and Ben Criddle maybe opened up a little more than he would with somebody else, who knows. But, again, this isn't the first time that this has been something that has been on his mind. And so I think he just kind of felt like, I'm just going to say what I have to say. He's in a position where he's kind of got the upper hand, I think, in this where he's beloved and everyone thinks he's the right guy for the job. And BYU said, yeah, we're going to pony up because we don't want you going to Penn State. We want you staying here. And if they made promises they haven't kept yet, he's going to say so. And he's comfortable in that, knowing that if things don't work out here, he's got different places he can go coach because he's earned that reputation.
To your earlier point, I've been under the impression that, led by Tom Homo, several people put together, but I think mostly Tom had to lead it because of his role, that they did put together here's the future. Here's where college sports is definitely going. Now, it could go with us all in. It could go with us partway in. It could go with us out. And here's what that looks like. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and I certainly haven't seen any of the presentations, and I'm not privy to conversations, but I was pretty sure that happened. And I think Tom's smart and thoughtful, so I get how he could really lay things out and make a compelling case for this is my vision of the future, and it can look at these ways. Which one do you want to pick? And that they picked the Big 12 one, right? And it comes with all the things you talk about and the evolution since then. And I think what you get are deeply committed people, which if you like them, you'll say they have the courage of their convictions. If you don't like them, they're stubborn. I don't know that it's that different. It's just how fond are you of the person you're speaking of. So if right now we have a football coach and an AD who are both stubborn or have the courage of their convictions, depending on how much you like each one of them, if we play this out, Kalani doesn't get what he wants, but he does have some leverage, and he has to go somewhere else. And I don't know, USC, Oklahoma, Texas, whoever opens up, Ohio State, I don't know, whatever, but somebody like Penn State who's got resources comes at him and says, hey, you've got all these double-digit win seasons, you're our guy, and then he goes. And there are people who will tell you this, the immediate pivot is to Jay Hill, who is a head coach. You'd think he'd take that over defensive coordinator because most coordinators have. But then he would come in, the issues wouldn't change, and he'd be the second person saying the same thing. Because I think he'd say what Kalani would say. I think he would want what Kalani would want. And then, boy, you don't want to be the person who, as AD, is constantly in conflict because suddenly then you're the problem. So if you play all that out and you realize that, why wouldn't you just go ahead and make some adjustments now and fund football now?
Yeah, and we're looking at this in real time, and the way that things have changed in college sports over the last 5 years is just stunning to me. The way it has become more and more like professional sports, and we're not done. I mean, there are certainly a lot of things on the horizon in terms of realignment, the TV deal, and how much are they going to try to get this through Congress to save college sports and all that kind of thing. So for me, I can't wait for the season to start because I'm tired of talking about this other stuff. I want to see some real football and see BYU compete. And they've got a good team this year. So, we can talk about all this stuff in the off season and it's just a little tiresome to me because things change so quickly. And next year we'll be talking about other things that we hadn't even imagined yet.
Yeah, that's for sure. And we'll look forward to that when it happens. So I wrote a piece on KSL.com, and I tried to just summarize all the stuff that's been going on from Kalani's perspective. And you've known me for several decades. I want to read you a sentence and see with you if you agree with one of the responses as I just opened it up. This article is a complete hack job. Sour grapes of a biased Ute fan who sees the writing on the wall. By every metric, BYU is pulling ahead of their rival. What would you respond to that?
My response to that is that on an even playing field, BYU is doing really well, and Utah's in transition. I mean, when Utah joined the Pac-12, they had some very distinct advantages that they were able to win a lot of games against BYU, 9 straight, as it were, in the series, and they were close games, a lot of them. BYU couldn't quite make it over the top in a few of them. But now that they are sort of on even playing field, they're both in a power conference. BYU's excelling, and BYU. Kalani said this the other day. He said we've been expected to do less with more, and that's always kind of been the case. I did a story. This is probably 7 or 8 years ago, but talking to some of the BYU coaches about their recruiting and how they face that on the road. You've got other schools that are sending guys on private jets, and you got BYU guys that are sleeping in airports, and that kind of thing. And so they were doing a lot with what they had, and they always have been very. And when you look at how many universities, athletic departments around the country are actually making money and in the black, BYU is one of the few. So they do a good job with what they have. Now they were trying to increase all of that. And there's obviously some fiefdoms on campus where people want to have control of certain things. And now they've added Mark Hill to the group. What is his role? Is he going to be liaison between Kalani and Brian? But I think BYU's done really well with. And I saw something the other day that somebody had posted about how BYU's spending and their financials are pretty comparable with most of the teams in the Big 12, but certainly pale by comparison to teams in the Big 10 and then the SEC. So there's work to do with this program to get them to the point where they feel like they can compete at that level, and at least financially. And they've done a good job with it. So I think that both of these schools, both BYU and Utah, are looking at the future and trying to figure out where they fit in this new kind of landscape of college sports.
And it does bother me as a Ute fan when we lose to the Cougars.
Yeah, we know that, Pat. You're just that kind of guy.
He is entertaining himself at a very high level right now.
I know. He gets off on making sure everyone knows that he's a Ute fan. Wears red.
Yeah. It's in my blood.
Do you think that this BYU club is set up to be the kind of team that would give Kalani a lot of leverage and when November and December roll around? The way we saw last year, that team was set up and did enough that it gave them a lot of leverage when November and December rolled around.
Yeah, and I've been around a long time, and I keep thinking about BYU and the WAC and the Mountain West Conference and Independent, and knowing every year that if you lost one game, you were out of the national spotlight. Even if you'd gone 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, if you had a big win at the beginning of the season, if you lost one game, that was pretty much it for you. And so BYU fans were pretty excited when they joined the Big 12 because now they're in a power conference and things are different. They have more opportunities. And as it turns out, they really only gained one loss in that scenario because they can have one loss, but they can't have two. Because the last 2 years they've had two losses and haven't made the college football playoffs. So that's kind of what I think about this program. They have kind of controlled their own destiny the last 2 years and had slip-ups. I mean, lost to Kansas on a weird punt fumble. Last year they had two games against Texas Tech and didn't show off well. If they could have played closer and lost those two or even won one of them, they probably would have been in the college football playoff. So there are things that they can control, and this year's team has some good opportunities. They host Notre Dame in October, and Notre Dame's a top 3 or 4 team, according to whatever polls you want to look at. That gives them an opportunity at home to get a really big win and put themselves in position at the end of the year to not be ignored by the College Football Playoff Committee. You want to take it out of their hands. And there's only a couple of ways to do that. One is to win every game, and the other way is to win the conference championship and get that automatic bid to the playoffs. So they know what they have to do, and I feel like they put themselves in a position with those two setup years that they've had 11 and 12 wins, that if they do the same thing this year, they should get a little bit more consideration. But this is college football. You've got to win the right games, and you have to not lose the wrong games.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to for BYU as far as what happens this year, and what we'll see in those big games that they have. A lot of talk on they lost a bunch of receivers, but I've been hearing this stuff about this Glasgow kid who's just a freshman, and I suppose that receiver, if you just run the routes and learn the offense, you can play as a freshman. What do you think?
Yeah, the coaches and players are all saying the right things about the new guys that are stepping into those roles. And, I because of what I do, the social media algorithm really puts a lot of BYU highlights in front of me when I'm on the computer. And so, I'm watching last year's games, and I'm seeing all the plays that Chase Roberts and Parker Kingston and Carson Ryan made. Those three guys, not just, picking up big third downs and chunk plays and touchdowns. They just did it all. And so are there three guys in that receiver/tight end group that can duplicate that? Maybe not, but maybe they've got a little more depth. I know, there's a lot of good talent there. Fesi Sitake said it's probably as talented and as skilled a group as he's ever coached. But none of them really have proven themselves yet. So that's important. But also what has to happen here is you've got a quarterback coming back for his second year after a freshman year that was really good. You've got the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year coming back, and L.J. Martin. You can rely on the run game and set some things up. So they're pretty optimistic that those new guys, including Legend Glasgow, can make plays. And, they've got two good tight ends they brought in from power conference teams. And so we'll see. I mean, nothing really is proven until they get out there and do it on the field. But the coaches and players are all saying that they're definitely capable. And if they are, that's a really good offense. And I think defensively they're going to be pretty good, even though they have a new defensive coordinator. It's somebody that understands, Caleb Yapinga understands what they've been doing. And he said the other day, it's, our fourth year running this system. I think our guys know how to get it done.
Yeah.
Texas Tech doesn't play Utah or BYU. Should we all just pencil them into the Big 12 title game? I mean, they're 11-1 and 12-0 or 12-0 at this point. Or quarterback's going to be a major problem. Sports has surprises. Brace yourself.
Well, the only thing I know about Will Hammond is that he went into Salt Lake and came into the game in the middle of the game and helped beat Utah, and that was pretty impressive to me. So he's a pretty talented quarterback. If he's healthy enough to play, I know he's coming off an injury. Certainly that could be the only thing that really holds Texas Tech back is quarterback play, but their defense will be so good that he might not be asked to do a whole lot in a lot of those games. So, they do have Houston, which is a program on the rise in the Big 12, but I think Texas Tech is definitely the favorite to get there again. And, they're embracing that role as the most hated team in America. I guess BYU's lost that title, apparently, to the Red Raiders. But I think there's some good teams in this conference that might be able to give them a couple of games. But looking at the stats and looking at on paper, they look like the team to beat for sure.
Darnell, we'll leave it right there for now unless there's something you want to tell us about high school football, either a team or an individual recruit, anything. It's kicking off.
Yeah, it is kicking off. We have down here in Utah Valley, we have like 8 new coaches, which is kind of interesting. And I don't know that we've got a state champion down here, but it's always fun to cover, and it looks like we'll be able to see a lot of games. I don't know what your involvement's going to be, DJ, but always like when I see you on the sidelines, and maybe you can get Kinahan out to a high school game. He probably hasn't been out to one in like 20 years, right?
I used to go when my wife was teaching, but if you want to know what DJ is to high school football going forward, just think of Keith Jackson to college football.
The Keith Jackson of Utah high school football. Okay,
yep,
I got it.
It's about a new day is about to begin.
I'm going to have to get super folksy. Wouldn't it? Fumbo! I just read a thing that he was going to be forced out, and then ABC had management change, and he went for 7 more years. And, I didn't know that little bit of drama at the end of his career. Yeah, interesting.
Yep. He was the voice of our youth.
That's
watching the
true
games
story.
on Saturday afternoons.
Yep. Well, Darnell, we will see you at a high school game somewhere. And thanks for coming on and joining us here on the show. We appreciate it.
Sounds good. Hey, guys, have a great day.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. When we come back, everything you missed in this show, which means if you're just joining us, we'll tell you about the Lakers being sold again for yet another massive pile of money. It's even bigger. That's next. Stay with us.
Welcome to
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I mean, honestly, this is uncharted territory for Utah. Other than Witt like to change his offensive coordinator every 45 minutes, we have not seen a switch at head coach for Utah, hardly ever. I mean, they are the Pittsburgh Steelers of college football. Kind of had a couple of coaches, and they've all stepped in and been very successful.
I think Morgan probably will try and find the sweet spot in being a little bit more aggressive. If he tries to go full Mike Leach on it, Utah's going to learn some painful lessons. But
there's more room for error than Witt thought.
There is, and I think
in a good way.
And we saw that in the bowl game. Mm-hmm. Deep down, Witt is a soccer coach, and I don't think that Morgan is a soccer coach. And when I say that, I mean like, oh, you've got a 1-0 lead. Well, let's sit on that thing. Yep. Let's anchor it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Love that strategy.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to get you up to speed on everything we've had during the show this morning. Brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 1-855-TRAJAN1 or visit the website at TrajanWealth.com. And the big story of the morning, the Lakers have been sold. $12.5 billion. How's inflation? 25% increase in the sales price since the last sale was approved in October. Jarring, PK. Shocking. And yet here we are. Josh Kushner, Bob Iger paying $12.5 billion, buying it from Mark Walter, who owns the Lakers and the Dodgers. What does this mean for the Dodgers, if anything? Don't know. Is this tied to the federal investigation into Walter? Did he fail to disclose some private credit holdings? He's also being investigated by the SEC in addition to a prosecutor in Manhattan. There's multiple investigations going. Does he need to pump some money into his other businesses? What's going on? What does this mean for the Lakers? What, if anything, does it mean for the Dodgers? A lot of questions, not a lot of answers right now, but an interesting morning for sure.
60 years ago, Jack Kent Cooke bought the Lakers for $5 million.
Now, veterans on a minimum want more than that.
And then you're not getting a luxury suite for that number.
He sold it to, obviously, Jerry Buss, I think, for like $67. So that was a decent profit.
$67 million then to, and then to $10 billion, and now to $12.5 billion.
Right. Yeah. Well, it leads you to believe that something's going on there with this loan spiel and the government investigating and all that stuff. But I mean, that's his deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's separate from the Lakers now, right?
In his 10.5 months, they decided to make a move and get rid of LeBron and have him go find a gig somewhere else. And he went to Philly, and they traded for Walker Kessler and gave the Jazz multiple draft picks and swaps. There's your major decisions over 10 months.
Yeah, and there's still some talk about maybe some multi-team deal to get Kuminga. It doesn't look like they have enough to win it all. I mean, you got Luka, and him being healthy makes a significant difference. Mm-hmm. I mean, they had injuries all over the place last year. So just getting him healthy. And they also re-signed Reeves, too. That was a big move. Gave him the max, didn't they?
They did. Committed to him for sure.
Yeah. But then now it's on the new ownership, and Walter will do what he does, and the government will do what they do there, and we'll see how that affects him and then the Dodgers. But as far as the Lakers go, new management, and what does that always mean? Because there's always an unknown. Any form of change is an unknown. Especially, well, I want to say if it's been a certain way for a long time, but now for ownership, it hasn't really been. It's only been a cup of coffee, basically. This is unheard of. I can't think of anything that's relatable.
I can't think of a team being sold this close together, and certainly a marquee club that's a pillar of the league. I mean, you'd like to think they're all the same, and no, they're not. I mean, the Dodgers and Yankees, the Cowboys and Lakers, there's certain teams just have more cachet.
Well, the league and its people in it all make money when the Lakers are better.
And those are the clubs that have more cachet. The Lakers can drive it, the Yankees can drive it, the Cowboys can drive it.
I always thought, for the Jazz's perspective, if you can't win the title, or if you can't get to the NBA final, have the Lakers get there.
It would be more satisfying if you're going to win a final if you did it by beating the Lakers on the way.
Sure, but
you want them to be
just
good.
From a business standpoint.
If it can't be you, then have it be them.
Yes, because they're going to make you money.
Rub the fingers together, show me the money.
Right, because they are a draw. We know the ones that are, and in the NBA, they're right there with anybody. I don't think they don't take a backseat to anybody. But it doesn't always happen that way, and hasn't happened for a good while now. And I don't see it changing. Maybe they can make a couple of moves. It's not like they're that far away, though. I mean, they're not. You're always building, but they're not in a total rebuild.
All right, we'll find out what that means. It's still got to be approved. That process will play out over weeks and months. We'll hear more about this, and I'm sure there's a lot of people already digging into this. What's going on? Walter owns other stuff, but apparently he's only selling the Lakers. I mean, he owns the Dodgers, he owns the Sparks, he owns Chelsea in the Premier League, he owns the Professional Women's Hockey League, and several auto racing teams. So he is deep into sports, but right now it appears that this is only the Lakers that are being sold here.
Right.
The other NBA news, Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy said the franchise is committed to ensuring that Steph Curry will retire as a Warrior. He's eligible to extend his contract with the team later this month for 2 years, $136 million, which would give him 20 seasons with the franchise. And that would probably be 2 more years in the middle to bottom of the Western Conference.
I hope they do the same thing with Draymond Green.
Keep the band together.
Let it play out until it's done.
Hold on to your 8th, 10th, 12th, 14th in the West, depending on how healthy Curry is, because he started to miss games in bunches here.
Well, we saw the Jazz had slipped. We saw the
Lakers,
the Mavericks, the Lakers with Kobe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and let it play out that way. Yeah, great.
Nowitzki in that book with the Mavs, you're right.
I'm all for it from the Jazz perspective.
The Spurs a little bit with Duncan. They also won later with Duncan. But they still had to go through a multi-year rebuild.
Yeah.
He didn't hang on as obviously as long and didn't go as far down as the Lakers did. They missed the playoffs for a long time.
Right.
The football news right now is mostly injury updates. Puka, who no longer, he's one word, right? One name now?
We all know who we mean.
How many people in sports? Ali. Gretzky. But can you do the first name? The last name's something, but the first name.
Oh, I think that
LeBron.
For Gretzky, it's the nickname.
The great one.
Yeah.
Magic.
Right. If you can get a nickname, Dr. J.
Larry Legend is 2, but I mean, we know who we're talking about. Yeah, Dr. J. Nice.
I think if you just go Larry, and no offense to Kristoviak.
Famous Larrys, and go.
That when you say Larry, certainly in a certain part of the country, when you say Larry, there's just the incomparable. They've had great ones in that franchise, but I think he's the greatest.
Puka, groin soreness, left practice early yesterday. Now, there are reports the NFL might suspend him for the season opener against the Niners in Australia. So, leave him in L.A. if that's true, and then he won't be suffering for all the jet lag.
Him just to keep an eye on him.
Keep
I don't want to be 10,000 miles away. He hasn't proven that he can handle that yet, and hopefully he does. It's been an eventful offseason that you don't want.
Myles Garrett missed the Rams, joined practice with Green Bay, soreness in his knee. He says he's feeling about 85%, at least that's what he's told his coaches, the club. They want to be smart with the defending Defensive Player of the Year. No reason to mess with Myles Garrett's knee in August.
No.
49ers coach Kyle Shanahan says star defensive end Nick Bosa is dealing with tendonitis in a surgically reconstructed knee. He's considered a week-to-week. He was absent from practice this week.
Well, as I said earlier, we need to make Bosa healthy again.
The Niners, older. We're going to be reading injury news about them all year. Still good. I just don't think they're great and don't think they're on that top tier.
Well, they got that substation over there that's just ruining guys left and right.
Yes, they've investigated that, and that isn't it. And we've all been to Google Maps. We've all been to Google Maps to see how close that thing is.
Mike Evans showed up and got a hamstring injury the first day of practice. Don't tell me there's not something going on.
Well, we do know in a much more serious thing that I think the Philadelphia media had uncovered something with the chemicals in the turf for the Phillies when they played in those old crummy ballparks.
Veterans Stadium with the artificial turf.
And they had several guys die of brain cancer in their 50s. Darren Dalton, Tim McGraw's father, Tug, were 2 of the prominent ones. But there's multiple others. That's shocking.
Shocking, tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's all kinds of...
I've been in that stadium.
Yeah. That was the old school turf that was more like indoor-outdoor carpeting that felt like
Well,
it was
cement.
super glued to the cement or the asphalt underneath
Yeah,
it.
if you couldn't catch a ball in the outfield, you had to make sure you backed up 20 yards so it didn't bounce over your head.
Kangaroo hop, yeah.
Yeah.
And I did a story when Rice Stadium, when they tore out the artificial turf there and put in grass, I think it was mid-'90s in there, and they laid down drainage and everything. It was a huge, massive construction project. And watching them tear the turf out, there was that mat, that cushion, which had been all beaten down. I mean, it wasn't paper thin, but it wasn't half an inch. It might not even been it may have been about a quarter inch. And then it was asphalt underneath it. It was shocking to see. I mean, you'd heard that, but to see it, you think, wow, these guys were really playing in a parking lot in that era.
But there was no other situation that I'm aware of people dying by playing on
Right,
the turf.
and I thought all the turf was didn't St. Louis or Cincinnati have it? San Francisco was turf for a while.
Pittsburgh had it.
Houston and the Astrodome. Yeah, Pittsburgh, you're right.
It was disgusting.
Right. But there was something in Philly.
Yeah,
I mean,
there had to have been.
that's like a cancer cluster type scenario.
It's too weird. It can't be a coincidence.
Your guy, Sam Levitt, left ASU for LSU. Says he's fully recovered from his Liz Frank injury that ended the 2025 season. He did make a stir by saying, somewhat facetiously, I'm from Oregon, so Louisiana kind of felt almost fake to me in a way. I didn't think it was a real place, but after being out here, I just love the trees, and I've always wanted to be in the South. The humidity obviously was something I had to get used to, but I love it now.
You always wanted to be where they're going to pay you the most money. You wanted to be in the South. You would have gone, you went to Michigan State, and if Penn State had paid you come on, just say it. You could have been a legend over there.
But you'll take
you
being the
took
highest paid
money.
over here.
Yeah. Say it. I mean, I'll give you credit for as phony as you are. You have said the only reason why you live in Utah is
Yuck. Paycheck is why I live in Utah. There we go.
I mean, it's right. You got to the essence. It has nothing to do with the love of the people like me.
You saved a school $600,000?
$600,000.
Wow.
I wanted to come to Utah to learn about this peculiar people that I've heard about. And I came here and I thought, they're peculiar, sure, but in a loving way. My neighbors, my friends, I embrace them.
You had to be kidnapped and locked in a car for 10 hours and driven around L.A. like a hostage before you agreed to take the job.
And now we commune.
Yuck, am I right?
No.
Yuck, am I right?
We commune one with another.
It was a hostage situation
and we're on
for
the
PK.
same wavelength as patriotic Americans usually are.
Locked in a car.
Too long. I don't know what to tell you.
Right. Yeah. And now, the paycheck, well, you've stockpiled so many of them. Now you're saying you've lived in Utah too long.
That was because my grammar was atrocious and you called me out on the air.
But you said I lived in Utah. Now you're blaming them on being uneducated hicks. Now we know why they voted the way they did. I see what you're saying. Jeez, can you insult them even more?
Utah grammar.
Well, I embrace it.
Washing machine.
I haven't learned enough. I may learn some more today.
You're hard-headed. You'll learn nothing.
Was it faith promoting when you read it?
That's a good. That one's underrated. You don't play that enough. Hit it one more time, Yuck.
Was it faith promoting when you read it?
Of course, that was the BOM you're talking about.
Was it faith promoting when you read it? Things you'll only hear on Utah Sports Talk Radio, Boston Sports Talk Radio, Dallas Sports Talk Radio, Seattle Sports Talk Radio. You're not getting that.
By me.
No, I'm
less.
too into myself to be annoyed by other people. That's true. All the honesties and the drops. Classic. Anything else you want to tell the people? Oh, you decided that the streak, 113 games, that's legit. That's a tough play. Can't assume the out is second base. Because originally it was scored as an error, and the record streak was coming to a stop. And, well, can we have that?
A backflip to a defender on the move.
Yes.
That is,
who was committed to the ball and was on the wrong side of second base.
Right.
Again, had to circle back when he decided to be committed to the bag.
And he camouflaged and shielded you from the ball.
Yeah.
And it was completely up the middle.
Jacob Wilson, shortstop for the A's, 113 straight games now without an error.
Yeah.
It was an awkward-looking
And
play.
it's the A's, man. We need good things to happen to the A's. I mean, he's a good player, went to Grand Canyon because his father was coaching there. I will say, though, he's no Freddie Patek.
Freddie Patek. Why Freddie Patek? Other than it's a fun name to say.
Because he's shortstop.
And it's Royals, right?
Yeah. Freddie Patek.
80s? 90s? 80s. Freddie Patek.
PK, you complete me.
I have been known as the great completer.
All right, DJ and PK, anything else you want to tell the people we've talked about this morning? We had Darnell Dickson on and Matt Brown on to talk about BYU and Kalani Sitake and the AD and Cougar Board statements. Matt was surprised at Cougar Board 25 years later was the place to go for updates on BYU football.
Well, I've been going there hourly now.
How old is Cougar Board, Yak? Established?
How old's the internet?
I would assume it's at least 25.
Cougar Board was a thing in the late 90s. I didn't know if it went back.
Well, that means it's more than 25
Well,
then.
then why would they change?
Yeah.
I just don't know when it started. 98,
well,
95?
So whenever the internet started, and all the programs have them, and it can be a cesspool. But I mean, it's you want that, not a cesspool, but you want fans to interact with one another because that means they're passionate.
Per the Google machine, it started in late 1999.
Okay. As BYUboard.com. All right. Ben Peterson's.
Who's Ben Peterson?
He's the guy who created BYUboard.com. That's his contribution to society right there. Bang! Cougar Board.
So then it morphed into something else?
October 20, 2003, it became Cougar Board.
Ben Peterson, brother of former BYU quarterback Charlie Peterson.
Aha! All right, DJ and PK, when we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us.
And Wayne.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is time for your feedback. What do you have to say about today's show? Question of the morning, how long do you think Kalani Sitake stays at BYU? True Blue BYU 1984 for as long as he wants. Okay, but how long does he want?
I know, but what's
how long does he want? That doesn't answer the question.
Leaves it very open-ended there.
Puts a condition on it, but doesn't answer it. Brandon, he's going to be there a long time. He could have left. He decided not to. He's truly happy there. I understand the undelivered promises, but it'll work out, and he stays.
Great. Very well could be true.
You said you were talking to people. There were texts, there were emails, and all that. You have your famous Kinahan gut instinct for how this is going to work. Does it get bumpier before it gets better? Is this Splitsville? You got it, or you got no feel for it?
Well, I can't have a feel if it's Splitsville, as you say, because I don't know what offers are going to come. Mm-hmm. This is not college football hiring season. Let's check back in 4 to 5 to 6 months when that is at that point, and we know when that so-called season arrives. This isn't it. I mean, I think that there's no question he turned up the heat on these folks who promised him stuff. And he's expected to be delivered. And he did it in such a brilliant manner, low-key, not raising his voice, blah, 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 blah. He can get angry. I've seen him angry. I've seen him do some stuff that, whoa. And he's told me about it. And I've told you stuff. So it's there. He can be tough. And that's what I led my story with on KSL.com. You know, when they had that crummy season, there was a lot of, he's too nice of a guy. And I was just talking with him at the indoor facility. I think it was on the pitcher day. And he said, yeah, people don't think I can get tough. They don't think I can get mad. Just try me. And he used a couple other words. So he can do all that. But I like the way he approached this. And my thought is that it will get ironed out, but I just wonder, I've got Whittingham in my other ear saying, it's going up 30, 40, 50% every year. You're going to have a $50 million roster. If the leadership of the Latter-day Saint Church, in conjunction with BYU, just says, hey, we're tapping out here. Mm-hmm. We're doing what we think is appropriate. We can't keep responding to other people all the time because once you go down that road, it never ends. And they have been known, as Darnell Dickson said, come work at the Lord's University. And, he was making that point that they don't pay top dollar. Lavelle Edwards used to joke about it and all that stuff. Well, do they continue to do it? Because if you're going to be all in, schools XYZ are going to keep raising the ante. And do you really want to go down that road? Where are you going to be in 5 and 10 years? $100 million roster?
I don't know how to answer that. I saw a great tweet, and this was about another topic. It was about college football, but it wasn't about BYU. It was something else. And a guy was saying, if you had sat with the power brokers 10 years ago and said, and 10 years ago, we were in the old school rules, and said, 10 years from now, quarterbacks will all make $1 million, the reaction in that room would have been astounding. And yet, here we are. There's lots of $1 million quarterbacks running around.
I think that's minimally.
Yeah. That's why I say there's a lot, because you don't have to be one of the elite schools to be $1 million quarterback.
It's got to be at least a year, if not 2 or 3 years. Kyle stood up there on his weekly thing and said it's 2.5.
So how many $1 million quarterbacks do you think there are then? I mean, you're down to some G5 schools paying that? What are they getting in the American or the Pac-12 now? Because he was talking power leagues. And in some cases, are there backup quarterbacks?
I think you'd be getting great money. Well, yeah, there are backup quarterbacks because there's freshmen that come in.
Right. And Houston is supposed to have a great – I mean, they've got a returner back, but they've got a 5-star freshman right behind him.
Henderson.
Right. It's like somebody – I was talking with somebody about this, and they're like –
clearly you're going to pay him.
The Utes are in a great thing. I mean, who has 2 quarterbacks? And so Houston?
Connor Wegman and Keyshawn Henderson.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're getting paid.
Right. Yeah.
Rob says if Kalani's feeling underappreciated and promises have been broken, then he might leave after this year. And he's got some this from some TV show or movie or whatever, and the kid's tearing up. So Rob is clearly a big Kalani fan,
he might, but
he's bracing himself.
I could argue, even if they promised him everything and gave him everything, he could still leave at the end of the year. Who knows what's going to be out there?
Given the moves we've seen in college football over the years, can't rule that out. You can't. We've seen too many stunning moves. I mean, Oregon has been stunned multiple times. They're like, I can't believe our guy is going. We got to go find another guy.
Well, I mean, the NFL wanted to hire Coach Edwards. Who's to say that isn't an option?
That clearly could happen.
Yeah.
All right, DJ PK, we're all done. Coming up, Scotty G, the coach Tim Lacombe. More on the Lakers sale, I'm sure. $12.5 billion. Stay with us right here on The Zone.